Welcome to the E Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Playbox Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at playboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 131 of the E Show. On this week's episode, we feature arguably the most historic franchise in the EHL, the New York Apple Corps. Lenny Caglianone joins the podcast to talk about his mindset in preparing to take over at the helm this fall. A former player in the EHL, Caglianone is anxious to drop the puck on his first game as a head coach in the league. Further along, the E Crew reconnects with this week's top 10 selection, highlighted by a pair of goalies who went on to win major awards in their respective collegiate hockey conferences. I'm joined now by Lenny Caglianone, the head coach and GM of the New York Apple Corps. How's it going, Lenny?
It's going great. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the E Show podcast for the first time, as we keep moving through each Team of the Week feature of the offseason, and officially welcome to the EHL as well. I know we haven't had a chance to really have you on here since you were named the head coach. Can you kind of take us back through the end of this past season when you were coaching the NA3 and when the conversation began with Steve Santini? You know, what were your thoughts about the chances of taking this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, the landscape has changed in the junior hockey world, and just, you know, listen, no disregard to the NA3, what a great league that is, and they've done an exceptional job with the inclusion of all the teams through that landscape, and you know, given the geographics of it, not just being based in one region, but I think being a guy who had played in the EHL and just seeing, the opportunity to go back and kind of mentor guys and coach guys that were in the position that I was, I thought it was a no-brainer. And just given the ability of the league to concentrate on a certain demographic and provide a service that allows these guys to, to be exposed to the collegiate landscape in the Northeast is just, it's a no-brainer to go back and put that on my resume, on my coaching career. And certainly I think it's a step up as well. So for me, talking to Steve, knowing him prior to, talking about the Apple Corps opportunity, just what he's built with Apple Corps and their alumni list and their rich history, for myself, it was just something that, immediate no-brainer to jump in head first and do what I can to help the program.
And you mentioned the rich history there. You mentioned it in your quote also when you joined the team. To become the head coach of the New York Apple Corps, who you could make the case, no program has the history that the Apple Corps has in our league. Do you feel pressure?
I think in a sense I do. I think it's more self-inflicted.
Okay.
I feel as if stepping into this position, there is something most certainly to prove, just given maybe some of the past seasons that we've had that, you could compare and contrast in regards to what we were at one point. And listen, it's a revolving door. I think you see it at all levels in regards to, there's peaks and valleys. Teams cannot be consistent for forever. That's just not the way the world works, especially the hockey world. And I certainly think that there's a platform and a foundation to build something that's reminiscent of what you've seen in years past. So I think more so I look at the past and what was accomplished back then with a certain demographic of players. And that's what I use as my thermostat and say, hey, listen, you need to get back to this and push to get back to that. So I think it's more so something that I've put for myself to achieve.
For sure. And what's unique about this upcoming season, obviously it being your first year as a head coach in the EHL. We'll get to your time as an assistant as well. But we're going into year number 10. And as I talked about with our E crew throughout the off season, it doesn't feel like year 10, but all the years have just passed by. And now there are former players that are becoming coaches, this and that. And this upcoming season is actually the first time that we have two players that used to actually play in the EHL when it was called the EHL. We have yourself and we have Nick Coda, who took over for the Walpole Express. Are there bragging rights when you face the Express or no? Because it will be the first time ever that we'll have two coaches facing off that both actually play in the league as well at the same exact time, the 2013-14 season.
Yeah, I believe he's a 93, so I'm the same birth year. We were both captains our age out year.
Yep.
And I came from the pedigree of when the EHL was the Atlantic League and Walpole was indeed a powerhouse. They had that three-peat year. So for me, you say Walpole, I think those three terrorizing years when I was in the league and to see what it's come now and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, kudos to you and the operation staff and as well as your personality that you're able to kind of put us in a platform and a pedestal that, listen, I think the league is great and but not to get sidetracked here. I certainly think there are. I think it's a healthy competition. Tried to usher that in kind of,
Yeah.
Smoothly. But yeah, I certainly think there are. I think whenever you step into any game, but now with this one having a couple of extra, superlatives, I think for sure. But
yes.
it's just I guess it's the player's nature still in us to have that competitive edge.
No doubt. And I think the best part about it is you face each other September 24th. So very early on in the year. I'll be happy in the fact that it's just cool to see former players now facing off as former coaches under that EHL name. Because as you mentioned, prior to 2013-14, we were the Atlantic Junior Hockey League. But enough time has passed now that we're seeing this with the actual EHL name come forth. But let's now dive into your coaching staff now, because as you came over, you have a brand new staff joining you. You also have Connor Tierney and Joe Minerva. And it feels like every single guy, including yourself, has that junior experience followed by the collegiate experience in the same paths that our players are wanting to go to, where they play juniors, then they go end up at a Division III school. How valuable do you think that will be for your players, because you've done it?
Yeah, I think in regards to players' resumes and when you transition into coaching, it's funny because now you kind of you become something that you've watched. Like you have your parents and you see them adapt to technology and you're like, wow, this is tough for them. But now I'm the one who's watching it. We didn't have elite prospects when we were younger. We didn't have Instagram, so you're watching these guys have these optics and these visuals on your career as you continue to coach. Guys are the first thing they're gonna do, they're gonna go check your resume, they're gonna go check what you've done, they're gonna get optics on you. So I think having a chartered course that you yourself have traversed, you're gonna look back and be able to relate that to the guys and tell them, hey, listen, I was the same guy wearing the same pair of skates in the same locker room. Like, I've certainly been there, and it's super important to find that middle ground with those guys, because if you're not relatable as a coach and you don't speak to the majority while keeping the minority at the forefront, I certainly do think that you're going to miss out on bringing guys to their ceiling and allowing them to achieve their ability, and having that playing resume, I think makes it all so much easier to translate and find that middle ground, as I said, to be able to be like, hey, listen, you might not want to listen to me, but I've been there, done that, and I have the piece of paper to show it. So,
yep.
Very important, I think, for myself and the staff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now let's get into the players that you've announced so far, because fairly shortly after the team announced that you had been hired, you announced a few players that are returning. Of course, in a perfect world, I'm sure the one name you'd love to have coming back would be Colin Caglianone, which we'll talk about later in this podcast, but he aged out. But on the flip side, to be able to bring back a Joe LaChase, a Christian Day, AJ Mule, how important were guys like that to get kind of checked off early for you in your first few days on the job?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly something that it was a priority to tackle, and to have a great foundation for guys who have experienced that, that taste from last season, right? I think it goes without saying. We could touch on that as much as we want, but it is what it is, right? It's done. It's in the past. And realistically, coming off of a season like that, you got to go in with an attitude that you want to light a fire for guys.
Yep.
You want them to come in with a chip on their shoulder, and to have, a core group of guys, whether it's 4 to 5, 5 to 10. I think if you have some of that taste from the prior season, and that be your foundation for your core, that's going to spread through the team and be like, hey, listen, this is the mission this year. This is what we need to get done. This is what it was like last year. We know what it is to lose. Losing humbles you,
Yep.
so much so, and winning cures all ailments, in that sense. So to have those guys in there, and for them to kind of set that standard and thermostat for incoming guys, and to have a foundation for a culture, I think it was a no-brainer to bring back guys who wanted to right the wrongs from the prior season.
And for yourself personally, you brought your own core over with you as well, from the Titans NA3 team. I mean, quickly right there, felt like you had 10 guys already, but how important was it for you to know that there were 5 or 6 guys that wanted to follow you across when you jumped over to the EHL?
Yeah, I mean, certainly so. Once again, touching on what you guys have done with the league, and how you guys have projected this league to every year have an odd number. I'm not entirely sure. I think we were in the hundreds, correct? A little over that.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, sorry, I don't have stats right in front of me. Certainly so. I think you guys, for the most part, do your job do my job for me, in that sense. So you're attracting a demographic and a populace that most certainly doesn't think twice in regards to, if they know what they are as a player, and they're pretty much set in regards to what they want to do. They're going to say, hey, the EHL is the place to go. This is where we need to put our roots, and to set our feet, because at the end of the day, I know if I perform well enough, there will be collegiate interest. So it's, once that was mentioned, guys who were serious about their careers, and wanted to continue playing post juniors, it was a no-brainer for them as well.
Yeah, and it's awesome for me things get so quiet in the off season, but to see, daily, just another announcement, another player who wasn't in the league before wanting to come to the league now, it just shows you that we're doing the right thing, right? And as you look forward here, a little bit over a month away from opening day of the season, for you guys, your first game against the defending champions, would you draw it up any other way?
No, I think it's perfect. Let's listen. I'm not a cliche guy. I'm a very much so realistic, honest person. But things happen for a reason. There's the nature of fate. You can't necessarily try to pull the strings and have things go your way 24/7. Sometimes you just got to put your boots on and go to work. And
yeah,
I mean, what a way to start the season with Hooley and his gang, and everything that they've accomplished. Congratulations to them as well. Watching them kind of grow. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It sets the identity of who we need to be and what we need to be as a majority and as individuals right off the bat, the first minute of the season. And I'm excited. I'm ready to go. So certainly so. It's I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's perfect. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. As we touched on a couple of times here, for me, it's amazing to all see this all come full circle, and now have former players as head coaches in this league. So, like I said, we only have just over a month of the off season still left, plenty of time for recruiting as well. So I hope you get a chance to enjoy this final month, and good luck with that opening day.
Yeah, listen, thank you so much. Just if I could touch base, everybody's been so great coming into the league as well, being a first year guy here. Great personalities, great infrastructure as well, and just so excited to come back to watch the league grow and become what it has. And being a player now, getting to that other side of the bench, it's full circle, and it's great to see. And I tip my cap to you guys as well, like I had said, that are behind the closed doors. I know that you get to be the big man and run the podcast, but listen, it's great to even see that. And like I said, tip my cap to you as well. You guys are doing a great job, and it's been nothing short of amazing to be a part of.
Oh, I appreciate that. And like I said, good luck with your opening game, and then I'll see you right after that at the September showcase.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Lenny Caglianone for coming on the podcast for the first time, and another official welcome to the EHL. As I mentioned in the interview with him, it really is pretty surreal to, for the first time, now have two coaches in our league that we can say actually played in the EHL under the EHL name, not the previous name, the Atlantic Junior Hockey League. So on September 24th, when Nick Cota and the Express faced Lenny Caglianone and the Apple Corps, for me, I will be very excited, and there's some pretty big bragging rights there. So with that, though, let's bring in the E crew now. Jeff and Anthony, we are now going to highlight a team who I know in recent years has had a few struggles, but you could honestly make the case, though, as a whole, past EHL and everything, no program has as much history as the New York Apple Corps.
Easy. Just open up their elite prospects and you go all the way back to, I think it's 98, 99, because they were an EJ team.
Crazy, right? Sorella played for them.
And Sorella's an old fart now. Just kidding, Chris. You sweathead. You sweaty. Working out good, but we're not talking about the Avs today.
It is going to be tough
to make him the top 10. I don't think so. He was an EJ guy. So
no, he's not. Like, Chris is too old to ever be considered an EHL player.
We had Terry Watt in the in the conversation with the Wappel Express, but he was another EJ guy.
But look at how many names are here, right? Like, it's impossible to sift through really who was EHL and who was prior to EHL, right? Like, there are so many names on this EP page, which is the history of this program. Mm-hmm. So we'll start with the easy one.
CC?
Colin Callanan. I had him actually written on the list before we even hit record.
Easy.
I mean, just the way that here's the way I would put it, right? Like, we're all big sports fans of more than just hockey, right? Mm-hmm. I think we can recognize that. Yes. When it comes to sports, there are only so many positions that you immediately jump out and say, the quarterback, the pitcher, hockey goalie, can go out there and win a game, steal a game, right? Not often can you say that a skater can do that. Colin Callanan is the exception, because there were occasions, especially this past year, where he would literally have a role in every goal that the team scored, whether it was 2 goals, 5 assists, or 5 goals, 2 assists. And he would literally put the team on his back and win a game for the Apple Corps.
It was the battle of the Collins, right? Colin Bella versus Colin Callanan every week. And both of those guys, like you just said, Neil, you'd look at their box scores and you'd think you were looking at a video game. It would be, 2 goals, 3 assists. Just another day of work for Colin Callanan in the New York Apple Corps. And then he helped a lot of guys that I think we're going to get on this list today too around him, right? Like Nick Weber's a guy that I really like this year. He was a good goal scorer, someone that Callanan was able to skate with. Colby Walters, another one I'm sure we're going to mention at some point. So he helped guys around him, right? He had that kind of, talking about multi-sports, he had that kind of Peyton Manning effect that his upper echelon play kind of helped others develop and get better as well.
Jeff, I would also argue, though, that players like Walters and Weber, they were good in their own right as well.
Yeah, so for sure.
Apple Corps, look, we're not going to shy away from it. This past season, they were a top-heavy team. But that top was so heavy. I've said it in earlier podcasts where your defensive strategy is to just keep that first line in check and you should be good. But that's a big if, because that line was so effective. Very few defenders in the EHL were able to stop them. That's why Apple Corps got as far as they did. And that's why they nearly upset the Railers in the first round of the playoffs this season. Shout out to Apple Corps taking that series to 3 games. I predicted them as my upset. I did not look as stupid as I did.
I mean, put it this way, Anthony. If they had pulled off that Game 3 upset, we often joked on the podcast about how, if you have the perfect bracket or whatnot, you get the number of points to be the victor. If you predicted that upset, we're giving you the title. You win the title because you nailed that upset. And really, they were winning in that Game 3 against the Railers. And I know I mentioned we already had Lenny Caglianone, the new head coach and GM. We would be remiss to not at least, give a stick tap or acknowledge what Joe Wegworth did with the team. I know Joe was more skating with them to stay in shape to see if an ECHL team called because he was, playing at the time. It kind of
Drafted by the Panthers.
Yeah, it kind of just fell in his lap that he was going to coach the team down the stretch. And they were a different team.
Mm-hmm.
They were a really different team. They became a scary team.
Yeah.
And they had the Railers on the ropes in that series.
They played spoiler a bit for sure.
I had talked to a couple of the players on Apple Core after the coaching change when Wegworth came in, and the players, I could tell right away, they were very excited about Wegworth. Probably because he's a bit younger, he was able to connect with the players, but also with his experience and the level of hockey that he brought to that organization. He had a very strong rapport with the players, and there was a noticeable difference in how they played. They liked playing under him, and I think, like what you said, Neil, Wegworth did a really good job filling in as the head coach.
And
sometimes you just need that, right? I mean, even you've seen it in the past in the NHL and some other places where things can be going good, and they're just like, no, we're gonna make a change. And like I said, I mean, that kind of really just shocked the room and gave them that late surge. And something that we talked about on the E Show, all three of us all season long, is that maybe you see them next year. Maybe you see them ride that wave into the 2022-2023 season.
And Lenny talked about it during the interview, the core that he can bring back, the Christian Day, AJ Mule.
Pun intended. Core he can bring back. Huh?
I did not even mean that one. He feels like they still have a little bit of that taste too, right? So for him to open the season against the 87s with Anthony on the call, and then kind of just jump right into the first showcase, they're gonna get a taste of where they want to be right from the very beginning, and it's gonna set them for the future of the season. And you never know, right? Worcester wins that Central Division in the regular season, the playoffs kind of unfold the way that they did, and we all felt going into semifinal Saturday, Worcester was probably one of the teams we felt strongest about and advancing to the to championship Sunday. We touched on this numerous times throughout this podcast. There are so many bounces that took place throughout the month of March that if you make that bounce go a different way, we're looking at a totally different series of events unfolding throughout the postseason. So yeah, Jeff, I mean, after Anthony almost picked it correctly, all bets are off. If you want to tell me the Apple Core and Providence next year, I'm not going to even bet against you because they could be, right? But we started off the list with Caglianone. We'd obviously there's no way he's not in the top 10. He's right there. He's number one.
We're gonna lose our jobs if we didn't put I think the next owners meeting, they'd be like, so boys,
that podcast is over.
Yeah, ratings.
It's just to touch on it one more time before we really dive in. It's funny to see the history, though, of the Apple Core, because Callahan technically in franchise history is the seventh leading scorer, right? But when you look at the first 13 guys,
all EJ guys, I was what? We were in high school.
This guy's probably my age, your age, Jeff.
John Kelly, yeah.
He's older than us, Jeff. He's 36 years old.
Making us look like kids. Thanks, John Kelly from West Islip, New York. Oh, he played at Harvard too. Good play.
Yeah, okay. There you go. So, but if we're looking at just the EHL history, they are one of the original 6 teams that's been in the league, obviously, since the league was formed back in 2013-14. And when I think Apple Core, obviously, I think recently with Callahan, but there's also a number of scorers over the years that always have stood out to me, and some goalies as well. So I actually want to start with the goalies because there's a chance that we have 3. And
this one is a Colin Cowen, and this one, the first one, you have to say another one we have to put out there first, right?
So, I mean, the first one I have is a goalie named Blake Wojtala.
Whoa. Not initials JB?
Yeah, we're going to get to JB.
Okay.
But Blake played in the EHL the 13-14 and 14-15 seasons. And then, as we've touched on numerous times, as a number of players have gone on to Salve Regina and helped Salve reach the national championship game a few years ago. We actually watched it, Jeff. Remember when we were in Providence, the very first Frozen Finals, and then it's funny how things like kind of like in a way kind of come full circle, and he becomes a Worcester Railer, but in the ECHL,
big railers, big
Yes.
railer show.
I mean, he
I do remember him
especially.
too.
I mean, look at the year that he brought Salve to the national championship game. In 28 games, he had a 1.99 and a 9.37. Like,
Damn good.
I mean, the following year, 2.59, 9.17. Like, not as good, but that's still pretty damn good.
Mhm.
Like, so I mean, I think I just remember like when those 2 seasons were taking place, it felt like every single week he was winning something in the CCC. As I pull down here, CCC, all
Everywhere.
second team, all first team goalie of the year, first team goalie of the year, literally back-to-back goalie of the year awards in the CCC, 2017, 18, and 18, 19. So for me, I think Blake has to be on this list.
Okay, that fair enough, because you wrapped in the like you said, the college, the collegiate and professional career that is still going on for Blake. 'Cause he's only 28 years old, and yeah, I remember Blake because that was his 14-15 year was my first season in the EHL. That was right before you came in, Neil.
Oh man, that's right. We're dating ourselves
Long
now.
time ago, I know. But yeah, he was a wagon at Salve and then Worcester Railers, and now he's a Fayetteville Marksman.
Yeah, I think it was the
And-
last team that he was with. So
And the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. So he was loaned to them. So he's still on the coast in the SPHL. So yeah, good pick.
I want to get to JB in a second. Jackson,
That's how
one second.
We're teasing. We're using initials for
There's
all you out
one. There's one more player who went on to win a college award who needs to be recognized, in my opinion, and that's Tim Sestak. I scroll right down to NESCAC first team, NESCAC second team, NESCAC player of the year, not just goalie of the year, player of the year. We touched on this with Connor Rodricks from the Express when he did it at Connecticut College. Tim Sestak did it at Wesleyan. So what I remember most about Sestak was he spent 2 seasons with the Apple Corps, 14-15 and 15-16. And I don't remember what the playoff format was at that time, but I think the Apple Corps weren't making the playoffs. And the head coach of the New York Bobcats in 15-16 was Craig Doremus. And he told me a quarter of the way, halfway through the season, he will be wearing our jersey by the end of the season. And I was like,
predicted it.
Okay. He goes, I'm going to make a move for that kid. And if the New York Bobcats with Tim Sestak don't run into Caden Primo and the Philadelphia Revolution, the playoffs unfold differently, right?
Speaking
But that's
of guys with professional careers.
that's literally who they played against, right?
Yeah.
He went to Hobart for a year right after that and then transferred to Wesleyan. I mean, the player of the year season, you want to talk about the numbers that Sala put up at Salve Regina? How about a 1.58 and a 9.50?
Yeah, all those save percentages too.
Oh my
929, 929, 950, 932.
What?
Nate Miller-esque, but in college. And we'll see Nate at Babson this year and see if I'm sure I'll put up the same type save percentages. But yeah, that's phenomenal. And Wesleyan too. So as you said, NESCAC, Neil, that's a smart school.
That's
so
a pretty smart school.
You have a pretty loaded curriculum class load too. So being able to balance both of those and produce numbers like that is a job well done.
And I'm not gonna say that I did this intentionally, but this kind of all transitions well into Jackson Bernard, because what I think Wojtala and then Sestak and then Bernard all show is that yes, at times their Apple Corps numbers didn't look as good as they possibly could have, right? But they were clearly talented enough to be recognized at the schools that they ended up at. Woj with Salve, and then Sestak at Wesleyan, and Bernard at Adrian. That if you want to tell me in a few years from now, talking about bets again, that Bernard helps lead Adrian to another Division III national title, puts up huge numbers there, like I would not be surprised, right? Same with you guys?
No, absolutely. And that's what was it that you told us? Is it Tori Krug's brother that coaches at Adrian?
It is Tori Cruz, but the coach is there, yes.
That's right, yeah.
Want to talk about what? You go, Anthony.
I was going to say, it's interesting how you brought up with Bernard's numbers, how maybe if you look at the goals against average, they don't look as good, but you look at the save percentage, it's pretty up there.
Yeah.
You could say the same thing about Tim Sestak. It looked like his goals against average is also a bit north of 4, but his save percentage was around like 915, 920. So you have these goaltenders where they face a high volume of shots, but they're still up to the task and they always give their teams a chance to win.
And of course, Bernard's season this year actually ended with Team Maryland. There was that trade late in the year. I mean, when he goes down there and in his first start with Team Maryland shuts out the Little Flyers in Aston, Pennsylvania, 3-0. I know I said it last week and we don't swear on this podcast, but I'm sure Mark Catron's first reaction was, "Oh bleep. What just happened?" Because we've touched on the South Division all year long, right? He just added to it. And like I said, when he goes off to Adrian, I gotta actually pull up what they did this past year. Speaking of wagons,
that was one of the I know, right? That was one of those big like trade notifications that we all kind of flipped out. One of the bigger ones in the last few years with our trade deadline. We might have to work that in this year, boys. A little trade deadline special.
Can I talk about myself for a second?
Yes. Okay, yeah, sure.
So when is the trade deadline typically?
Oh, this is
the trade
deadline. Still rattling my brain. By the way,
the trade deadline typically is around mid-February.
Yeah,
when my wife is currently due to give our birth to our first child. So
those of you that don't follow Neil Rabbit on social media.
So I literally said to Vicky the other night, I go, what if because she knows we're touching on a lot of teams right now, and I'm sure Lenny gets it as well. But Bill Zanaboni loves the trade deadline. He eats it up, right? So I could be up till midnight in the hospital of trade deadline night, just working through moves this year. It's a pretty
sun and on the phone in the other.
It's a pretty distinct possibility. But
Neil,
I know can pull our best Kevin Weeks impressions.
I know you're in the hospital right now, but I'm about to finalize a 4-team trade. Help me out.
Let's say, and all our friends in the EHL, Chris
I know,
Zanaboni, all
I know Adam Booley would definitely be in
now.
on that too, Neil. You gotta watch out for the 87s too.
Hooley's gonna make a blockbuster trade, 3-team deal. A couple guys getting sent out, cash considerations, future draft picks.
Right at that moment, right? Yep. So
players, everything.
So
speaking of wagons,
as they say, Jeff and Anthony, we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes,
so
that is correct.
But congratulations, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations again. He did share maybe some private info with us. Was that last week, 2 weeks ago, after the podcast?
Jeff, as you know, for me, dates all blend together, so I don't even know what took place. So
we all lost. Me and Anthony lost it. So yeah.
But for Bernard, he's going off to Adrian, who just won the Division III national title this year. What they did this past season, you kind of have to. I have their schedule pulled up for those that can't see at home. Obviously,
this looks fake.
This is an exhibition game against the NTDP. So when they go out and they lose to Utica on opening night in overtime, 3-2, and then win 31 straight to win the national title,
I think that woke them up, charged them up.
What? On their way to winning the national title, they beat really good teams. St. Aubert, Hobart, Augsburg, Geneseo, 12-3, 7-4, 5-1, 5-2.
Wow.
Bernard is probably can we do that again?
And for those keeping track at home that don't know, NTDP is the national development team, the USA national development team, who's always chock full of NHL guys. They lost 4-3.
Yes. So that's a Division I type team, right?
I was just gonna say, proving our point that there needs to be more Division I colleges. And I don't know if you just saw the USCHO article the other day about adding possibly another 10 Division I colleges. But Adrian would be one of those that I would put up there as they could swing the fists with a lot of the Division I hockey teams. For Jackson to be going there too, that's what makes it awesome, right? So he technically is the first player in league history to go direct from the EHL to Adrian, because they are a de facto Division I team. Let's just say it, Jeff. They are basically a Division I school. So I cannot wait to see. There's just not enough slots in D1. Adrian is a de facto D1 team.
I cannot wait to see what he does there. He technically is the second player in league history to go there. The first one was an alumni.
I don't know if you told us this or not.
Trevor Kuykendall, who played for the Little Flyers. in 16-17. So I got to give myself credit for even knowing that. But back on track. If you guys are good with that, I think you have to start Callanan, and then those 3 goalies have to be a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that gives us 4 so far. Another team that has 3 goalies or in the top 10, right? And then if you want to get back into top scorers, not this past season, obviously with Callanan, but the quote unquote COVID year, Michael Oliva, like he was right there.
Yeah,
right
when I was checking
against
out EP
Yasuda.
last night, yeah, I remember because you were all about Neil was all on the Michael Oliva train for fantasy and just as a talking point. He was, or actually Kyle was too. Kyle McKenna, our former beat writer, he was a big Michael Oliva fan too. But yeah, he was another speed afterburner guy that could just whiz down the ice and do all sorts of good things. And yeah, good addition. Good addition.
Yeah, he was a special player. Anytime he had the puck on his stick, you have to hold your breath, even as the broadcaster, which I know I'm not supposed to do, but that's how good of a player Leva was.
And I'll never
points in 77 games. Phew.
I will.
And another UMass Dartmouth guy, Neil.
Yeah, of course, right? I do have to, like, that year was so hard. I think that we all know, like we never want to go through what that season was again, because just getting through it was the toughest thing ever, really. And when you go back and you look at the stats from that season, what's still kind of, I don't know if I lose sleep over it, but I still always wonder, like, for Leva to finish second in scoring by 1 point behind Yasuda, but have
3 less games.
3 less games.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember there was a game that we had to just straight up cancel and not put back on the schedule just because of what was taking place. And it's like, if he had that game, what could have happened? And yeah, I mean, it's the scoring title, right? Like, it's not the end of the world. He still advanced on to UMass Dartmouth, but there's those little tidbits that, like, you never forget. And for some reason, I'll never forget that Leva was 1 point behind Yasuda.
Yeah. I mean, look at that year, too. There's 8 guys over 50 points, and they were all in that 30 to 35 range. And we usually play 48 game season. So we could have all sorts of 60, 70 point scores if we were able to finish that out.
100%.
Thank you, Mother Nature.
And the other thing, too, with Apple Core, I think they went, 300 and something days without playing at the
that's right, Anthony.
Brewster, as Tim Moore loves to call it.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many teams that couldn't play in this rink, had to play in that rink. It was a mess. It was a complete mess.
Lumberjacks moved to Waterville Valley. That was
that
whole season was something.
So that gives us 5 so far. 2 forwards and 3 goalies. I'm just gonna read some names out loud to think about before I put the first D on this list. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, sure. I was I think I got a couple.
So
too.
some forwards to think about: Race Bennett.
That was the one that was open on my screen. Yep.
Nick Weber.
Yep, definitely.
Kyle Warren. Michael Carducci. I don't know if you remember this one, but Danilo Moroz.
Yes. Yep.
Colby Walters. Connor Woolley. Some forwards to think about, but we have to have at least one D, right?
Have to.
So the D for me is easy because I did not know how good he really was until he came to play for our all-star team. And this guy was as steady as they came. Ryan Leith.
Yep.
And he played 2 seasons with the Apple Core, 17, 18, 18, 19. Again, this is an Apple Core episode, but Adam Hooley in that 18-19 season was obsessed with Ryan Leith. He wanted him on the team, on the 87 so bad, which I only bring that up because he made the move for Mettler this past year.
I was just going to say that. So he used it back. He's like, I'm getting this D. I want an Apple Core D. Jimmy Mettler, come on down.
He would literally text me every day throughout the second half of the season. I need a right shot D. I need Ryan Leith because he was just so good for that team. Again, played for our all-star team that faced the colleges, is now at SUNY Potsdam, and he was just rock solid throughout his time with the Apple Corps. He may be the only D that makes it on this list because of just how many scorers there have been. But he
What
has
about
to be
Jimmy
on this
Metler, Neil? He was on my list.
Yeah, I
know
mean,
he got-
could. That's up to you guys. I mean, we've touched a lot about, like, could you be on 2? Could you be on 1? I don't think we put him on the 87s list.
No, and I mean, I know he was part of the championship run, but I feel like his time there was so brief. Anthony may be able to argue this more for or more against than I could. But I think he belongs in the Apple Corps all-time list. Anthony, what do you think? And he played 101 career games with the Apple Corps.
Yeah, that's
a
a
lot.
tough one. And it's funny
Starts
because
4 seasons.
actually, just a quick digression. I actually recently did an interview with George Weiner because he was at the Maccabi games. And if anybody recalls, the first episode, I was pretty adamant about putting Tim Lazowski in over Weiner. So I was like, hey, bud, like, sorry. So I think for Metler, with Metler, I have to be careful how I word this. But I mean, just an emphasis on like what Neil said, Apple Corps just had so many talented players where it's nothing against Metler, just more so with all the other players that Apple Corps has seen over the past 10 or so years, if we're just counting EHL guys. Metler's a tremendous defender, though. Great guy. I'll never forget because his aunt would go to all the games for the 87s since the trade and was telling me how Jimmy's older sister taught him how to skate because his older sister was a figure skater. Jimmy was like, I want to do that, ice skating at least. And he just became a really good hockey player.
I'm trying to find a goal from the All-Star Classic. Jeff may remember this, where Metler picked up the puck like in his own end, went up ice, and it was just the loudest slap shot off the post in, like bang.
I do remember that.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I may have found it.
Oh, I say he was on Lauren's red team, wasn't he? Kept the same red colors.
I don't know if I found it or not.
Is that it? That might be it. Oh.
These are the top 10 plays. I have to figure out which play it was. But you know what I'm talking about, Jeff. Like it was loud. Like it was like a loud goal.
No, I might fight hard for Jimmy Metler to get on this list, guys. 11 goals, 63 assists, 74 points, 119 games played for the Apple Corps. That's a lot of games.
I think that's the key stat.
Right? And as a defenseman, we've seen that, defense next to goaltending is one of the hardest positions. A guy like Anthony said, a well-rounded player that can play up in the zone. He pinches a lot, can score. I'm actually surprised he only scored 11 goals. I thought it was way more than that, but a lot of apples, loves eating in the produce section. So
very unselfish player.
Very, and a really good guy too. A really good kid. He was a huge addition to that championship winning 87s team, and he just fit in really easily with the rest of the good guys on that team. So
I think there were a couple of occasions where Metler would be on the power play for the 87s, either quarterbacking or usually would take that right face-off circle. And I think there were times where Adam Hooley, Matt Kiernan, heck, maybe even Connor McNeilis, if he was at the games, be like, why isn't Jimmy ripping the puck from there? Like, he has the shot, use it. But for Jimmy, he just has that eye where he looks for someone, looks for that open lane, and will just thread the needle to someone else or just hand it off to the top of the point and just let someone else rip the puck. Like, that was the kind of player he is. He's a good puck-moving defenseman. He can skate very well. Probably doesn't shoot it as much as he should, but still just a terrific player. And Jeff, you do bring up a good point that with all the games he has played for Apple Corps, in a sense, he is almost Mr. Apple Corps.
Yeah, I would fight for that too.
I guess you just forget that he came at the end of the 18-19 season. There was some games played or a full season in that 19-20, shortened 2020-21 as he's still developing into the defenseman that he was 21-22. So yeah, I think what, we'll add him to the list. That gives us 2 forwards, 2 D, and 3 goalies so far. That only leaves room for 3 more forwards.
Uh-oh. And you got a lot more than 3 tabs open that we just talked about up there.
I mean,
getting?
We're already up to 7 skaters.
I think
seven players. What I meant.
I think Race Bennett needs to be one of the next ones too, Neil. He was another.
I just want to make sure that that are the final 3.
Do I see Matt Gilroy in there?
Yeah, he played somewhere for the Apple Core. Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is before the EHL days, but
still the Matt Gilroy.
I'm going to add. So of the tabs that are open, right, I think we can agree that the final 3 forwards are probably coming from these 8 possibilities, right?
Yeah.
So
not Boston University's Matt Gilroy.
No. Race Bennett, Nick Weber, Kyle Warren, Michael Carducci, Danilo Moroz, Colby Walters, Connor Worley. I forgot about Joe Verbois. And because he falls so far down the list because he came late in that 17-18 season, but in 29 total games had 37 points. That's huge.
That's good.
So again, we need 3 to round out the top 10.
I would argue for a team with as much history as Apple Core, I think you're better off including guys who are there longer.
Okay.
So sort of in line with including Jimmy Metler.
Then
guys
this guy.
Yep.
Michael Carducci has to be on this list then. So the silence is confirming for me.
Well, I was reading something too because I was trying to add up. I was trying to do some addition there. Race Bennett was just under 100 games too. He was at 88 games played as an all-time core Applebite, as we call them on the E-show sometimes. Carducci was at where the heck did he just go? I just lost my tab.
You're looking for games played, Jeff?
Yeah. Yep.
70 regular season games. 70
yep.
And 2 more in postseason. I mean, he was. I don't know how to say this other than the way I want to say it. He was Callanan before Callanan, in my opinion.
He was.
And another guy, like you said, in the 2021 season, 35 points in 28 games. That's 20 games less than we usually play. So you add that in. He probably has a 70-something point season like Callanan just had with his 75 this last year. So
also, but before we go on to players 9 and 10, can we also just give some honorable mentions to some people who played for Apple Core?
Yeah,
and guys who might not have lit up the stat sheet, but AJ Muley, he played for the 87s, got traded to Apple Core. Just a really, really good kid, always fun to talk to. Probably one of the funniest Apple Core players I've ever met, Joe LaChase.
Oh yeah,
coming back.
He is born and bred Queens, New York, born and raised. We always talk about New York pizza when I talk to Joey LaChase because we're 2 Italians just shooting the stuff,
just mucking it up.
and he would always talk about New Park Pizza in Howard Beach over in Queens, and I was like, Joey, you trying to get a sponsorship for them or something? He's like, oh no, sometimes I actually work there.
My God.
I still have to take him up on his offer. I've got to go to Queens. I've got to go to Howard Beach and visit him at New Park Pizza. But yeah, he's another guy that's so fun to talk to off the ice. And to hear that he's coming back, I'm excited.
So I think that Carducci and Bennett should both be on the list, right? We gave a shout out, or I gave a shout out to Verbois. I think that another shout out should go to Colby Walters. I don't know if he's quite top 10 for them.
Yeah, games played if we're doing that.
No, he played. I mean, he played 2 full seasons, right?
That's right.
The going from 15 points in 2021 to 40 the next year is a hell of a jump. I definitely want to give that shout out there for sure. Maybe it could be him. Race Bennett, who plays at Salem State now, actually plays with Connor Woolley there at Salem State. Woolley came late in the 17-18 season, and then had the 18-19 full year pretty good 2 years at Salem State. 14 points his first year, 16 his second year, technically his junior year because you take away a season in between. But for me, like the name that like I always go back to was Morose. Like one season, 56 points, 41 games.
One and done. In, out, huge contributor. See you later. Out to overseas. Oh, yeah, he's playing in the Ukraine now.
Well, not 2 seasons ago. They didn't play last year. Yeah, something clearly happened in that last year. Like they weren't able to play. I don't know what that team is, Jeff. You want to pronounce that team?
Oh,
just kidding.
Billy Bars Bila Shirkba.
Yes.
There's my impression.
I mean, when the Apple Corps brought him in, though, I remember who was the coach in 1920. My God, I had his. Was that Graham? It could have been Graham, but he had mentioned. Look up the numbers that he put up in the Western States League the year before. I was like, okay, 107 points in 49 games.
Whoa, jeez. For the Valencia Flyers, damn. 53 goals, 54 assists. Yeah, that's pretty damn good.
I mean, if you guys are still pushing Nick Weber, though, I mean, you want to talk about Walters going from 15 points his first year to 40 his second year. How about from 12? How about from 12 to 60?
Yep.
Kyle Warren, I know, isn't playing anymore. He's actually coaching somewhere in midgets, I want to say now. He was the captain for the Apple Corps that 18-19 season. The year before, 17-18, you look at those playoff numbers. I remember he literally put the team on his back when they knocked off Wilkes-Barre to advance past the first round of the playoffs. So he's actually with the Maine Nordiques. There you go. NAHL.
Look at that. The Maine Nordiques. We know someone that's going to be scouting for them now.
2 people.
EHL Roots. Oh, there's another one too.
So
I don't know. Morose is a good one too. And I forgot he had Ukrainian roots too. Hope he's doing okay. I don't know. We haven't talked to him in a long time either. But yeah, that 107 points. I know we don't include stops elsewhere, but that just shows you the kind of player he was. Rose. We're chewing on it here.
Anthony can pick.
Calls down to the
because I picked Carducci. Jeff picked Bennett. Anthony can pick somebody else if he feels stronger about somebody else.
True.
Drayton Todorov.
Man, Anthony.
Nick Weber jump is something too, though. To go from 15 to 60 points, that's just like.
Yeah, I forgot about this kid, Anthony. I forgot about Drayton Todorov. Do you remember him? Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Was he one of the all-time league leaders in penalty minutes?
Oh boy. Oh, yep. There we go. Triple digits.
He had 154 PIMs that year with the Apple Corps.
Hey, he still had 10 points in 29 games, 2 goals, 8 assists.
Yeah, he was a good player when played the NA this past year, going off to Buff State. With
Amarillo Wranglers, still a healthy 132 penalty minutes.
Jeff loves PIMs.
No, you know,
gotta clean up that plus minus though. Minus 15. I gotta clean that up.
You know what, Neil? If this were a call-in show, we would have like a Kevin from Brewster saying this Apple Corps team needs grit. We need more players like Drayton Todorov. Calling into WFAN.
We absolutely would. I'd love to get Colin.
No, look, Jeff, you said it perfectly. You know, he's a guy who racked up a lot of penalty minutes, but the fact he's able to go up to the NA, he had a big frame, was physical, not afraid to throw the body around. So he was a good player. You know, when he wasn't in the penalty box.
Is that your pick, Anthony?
No.
Number 10, Drayton Todorov. See you next week.
No, and look, I hope that didn't come off as mean-spirited. Like,
no,
he's a player where you probably hate so much that you want him on your team, or like you just don't want to deal with him as an opponent.
Yep.
But
you know who I totally. Let's give some more honorable mentions because there's guys that I forgot to mention here. There was one season. I want to say one season of Matt Boring, and no pun intended, Jeff. His game was not boring. I mean, he put up 38 points in 17-18. I touched on with Lenny, the players that are coming back. I'm sure that he wishes he could bring John Myers back, because Myers actually has one more year of junior eligibility. I think he was one of the more underrated players this past season in the EHL. 20 points in 45 games off to St. A's this fall. The one I totally forgot that we should mention, what an EP pick. Oh my God.
Oh, speaking of Pims, how's that for a left hook?
Yeah, so Zach White played for the Apple Corps actually he played for the Brewster Bulldogs, who were the Met League team in Brewster Ice Arena in 13-14. Then played Apple Corps 14-15. Then went to Curry College 4 years and was a captain, and is now playing pro in the ECHL.
Oh, so that's his picture with the Iowa Heartlanders. Look at he's doing a little bit of everything up there. 51 points, 40 penalty minutes. 5 of those came in that picture right there. Whatever fight that was with whatever that guy is.
I hate to overstep, Anthony, but wow. I totally forgot. I think this is the guy.
Zach White.
Look what he did in college. Look at that senior year at Curry.
Yeah. Like you said, he has that one. He snuck in there, 14-15 with the Apple Corps when they transferred from the
43 points.
Yeah.
If you're a point per game in the ECHL, 51 points in 52 games, I don't think I can disagree with you, Neil.
Yeah, I like this one. And you can bash someone. That's an all-time best EP picture.
Yeah, the EP pick is definitely another tiebreaker. For those who cannot see, because this is a podcast, search up Zach White on Elite Prospects, and you will see him taking down someone in a good old matchup of fisticuffs.
He has no Bucky on. The other guy still has his Bucky on, and White's left arm is sending him to the ice.
What did Jim say last week? They went to McDonald's and got a fillet of fish.
A fillet of fish.
Fillet of fish.
For all the dad joke lovers out there, ourselves included.
Yes.
Fillet of fish.
Neil, that'll be you very soon with the dad jokes.
Yes.
Oh, he loves dad jokes already. He's loved them for years, pre-dad.
But now they're like real dad jokes. I think this list is pretty damn good.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so to read it back, Colin Callanan, Blake Wojtala, Tim Sestak, Jackson Bernard, Michael Leva, Ryan Leith, Jimmy Metler, Michael Carducci, Race Bennett, and Zach White.
Good mix too. Good blend of like some guys from recent, some older guys like White and Sestak and Wojtala. I like it. Good blend.
So now I'm gonna like talk a little future episodes with you guys, right? Mm-hmm. So on September 15th, 5 weeks, 5 episodes from now, that's the first day of the season. So we'll be doing our season preview that day, right? Mm-hmm. The week prior, September 8th, one of the 4 teams that's left has already requested that day. The Connecticut Rough Riders, right? Mm-hmm. So now, over the next 3 weeks, that means we have to cross off the Spartans, the Warriors, and the Little Flyers. So who do you want to go next week?
Spartans, Little Flyers, Warriors.
Keep in mind, Little Flyers and Rough Riders, we are able to... They're original franchises, right? Because just like the Apple Corps, Little Flyers came in the very first year. Rough Riders were actually playing under a different name. We'll talk about that, but they came in the very first year as well. And same with the Warriors. So we have a lot of these original teams left.
That's right. Connecticut used to leak oil.
We could talk more offline, but we have a lot of good programs.
Yeah, we'll
left.
Figure it out. I don't know. That's a tough choice. We don't want to put anyone on the spot, too, and show that we're showing any favorites out of those 3 years. So.
But again, a great top 10 for the New York Apple Corps. Another welcome to Lenny Caglianone for coming to the EHL. Another, like I said before, him and Dakota. First time ever we have 2 former EHL players that are head coaches of EHL teams. So personally, I cannot wait for September 24th. So that's it for the Apple Corps. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you then.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.